Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I've been playing a lot of Escape From Tarkov recently on my Twitch stream, and I get a lot of questions about the game from new and experienced players alike. So I thought it'd be really fun and useful to do a few YouTube videos, just imparting some of my knowledge about the game. And I thought it'd be good if we did it from kind of a day one experience perspective as well. So I've got a basic account set up, or available rather, and we're going to go through the process of logging in for the first time, creating your character, gearing up, going into your first raid, and obviously picking up all your tasks as well, because what's the point of raiding in Tarkov if you haven't at least got a few tasks available to work through. So yeah, I hope you have fun. I hope you find this informative and useful, and yeah, we'll get straight into it with logging into the game and creating our character. See you in a mo. Okay guys, so you've downloaded EFT, you've been to Battle State Games, you're all logged in. Okay, what you now need to do is click play. Dead easy. Now I am going to assume that you've all got some basic knowledge about Tarkov. If you don't, I'd recommend my Should You Buy Escape From Tarkov video, which gives you some basic information about the game, but we're going to expand a lot more on that as we go through this series. So first thing you do, click play. Now there is a queuing system, you just saw there, it popped up saying that I was 95th in the queue. Sometimes that queue goes up, sometimes there isn't even a queue, depends on the time of day, depends on whether the servers have been having issues, all sorts of things really. Right, so you need to accept, choose your language, accept your T's and C's, and there's a little bit of spiel here if you want to read that about the background and that it's just a game. So you want to now choose your nickname. Now if you're on a standard account, I think you're pretty much stuck with this once you've chosen it. As you go up the accounts, I think when you get to Edge of Darkness, I think you can change your nickname something like once a month. It might be a little bit more frequently than that. There are still limitations, but so we'll just call it, like, I don't know, trainer account. Let's just call it that, because you know, training. Okay. And then you want to choose your faction. Now, choosing your faction was really just a cosmetic preference and a preference of voice lines, the language that your character speaks. However, there's some recent changes to the game which might affect which faction you actually want to choose. In the current patch, which is 12.12, again, this may change as time goes on. These videos get outdated. I'll try and update them, but do just bear that in mind. So at the moment, if you choose USEC, you'll have English voice lines, but also on one of the maps, the new map called Lighthouse, or new at the time of this video, there is a faction on there. You can't interact with them as such, but they will be friendly-ish to you if you are a USEC. They won't shoot on sight. If you get too close, they still give you a warning and they'll fire on you. They're called the Rogues, by the way, and they're only on the Lighthouse map. If you are USEC, they'll give you more leeway before they'll shoot at you, right? If you're a bear, all your voice lines will be in Russian. So if you don't speak Russian, although you can still see what you're saying, you know, people aren't going to understand you. These are the in-game voice lines. Not so important now I've got VoIP, but it still matters. The Rogues on Lighthouse will pretty much shoot you on sight. You are hostile to them, and they can even shoot you from not the full way across the map, but a long way away. They can snipe at you, so just bear that in mind. I'm going to pick USEC. I've never picked Bear, and now that Lighthouse is working the way it is with the Rogue faction, I think if you're new to the game, you're probably just that little bit safer picking USEC. It's not going to be the be all and end all. If you're watching this video and you've already picked Bear, don't worry, it's okay. Apart from anything else, you know, if I team up with someone who is a bear, then the Rogues will be hostile to me anyway. It doesn't matter that much, but it's just something to bear in mind. So let's pick USEC, and then you can choose your face. There's a few presets. You can't edit in any detail, and you can choose your voice as well. Okay, we'll go with the Josh voice. and the foreman face. We're in. Okay. You saw a message pop up there that said VoIP is disabled. We'll come to VoIP in a moment. The first thing I'm going to show you, and remember this is a standard account, the first thing I'm going to show you is, and I'd recommend you this as soon as you get into the game, go to your settings. Now, some of these settings, you won't really know what you're changing at this point, and you can always come back to them as you play the game. There'll be certain things that you do and you think, oh, well, that doesn't feel very natural pressing that combination of buttons, or I don't like that particular way the interface looks, so I'm going to change that. So you can always change as you go through. I'll show you how I play, but you may prefer different settings, and that's absolutely fine. So these quick slots are your slots across the top of your screen, which show you what buttons your gun is bound to and your healing items. I have that as always shown. You could argue it's a bit more immersive to have it. I would never go for always hidden. I'd either have it as auto hide or always shown. Auto hide means it will show when you press a button related to the bar, but so it can improve your immersion. I have it as always shown. I just think it's always useful to be able to see up there at a glance. Information is really important in Tarkov, and I think having the most amount of information available to you when you need it, and not thinking, oh, I need to press a button to be able to see a bit of information, is a better way to play. For me personally, if you're new to the game, I think it's probably going to be the same for you. Stamina and stance, I have that as always shown as well. That's normally in the bottom left of the screen. You'll see all this in a moment. Health condition, I also have as always shown. Again, it's all information that helps you to see at any given time. Even if it's irrelevant at a particular time, it's not really taking up too much screen real estate. I can't think of any situation where having these always shown has led me to getting killed. If anything, it's only ever helped me. Health color scheme, I would recommend if you're a new player having it on polychrome. Monochrome just means that it's gray when you're full health, and then it's red when you're damaged. I would recommend polychrome because it's a little bit more intuitive. It will show as green when your health is good, and then it will slowly fade to yellow, orange, and red when you're about to lose the limb, or you're in a bad way. So I prefer the polychrome. I think it gives you, again, information is key in Tarkov. I think it gives you more information. So that's what I go for. Highlight available operations, I have on everything. This is just when you're in the inventory. It shows you when you pick something up. It highlights items that you can put an item into or on. I think that's a good thing to have as well. Again, great for new players, but I think it's just generally useful. Notification channel type always keeps default. I'm not actually sure what that is. The automatic RAM cleaner and only using physical cores depends on the PC that you're running. I have the automatic RAM cleaner on. I don't have only use physical cores. This is all to do with performance. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert when it comes to performance and what settings you should or shouldn't have. I may do a separate video on that, but often I will look to other sources and mess around with the settings to see what works for me. I generally, as a rule of thumb, if you're not sure what settings to run and you don't want, I'd first recommend looking at a video that or something online that helps you with that. If you don't want to do that, I would say dial pretty much all of your graphical settings back to 0. The game will look terrible, but you should have like the best performance then in terms of FPS, and then turn things up. See what affects your FPS more. That's a very slow way of doing things, by the way. Turn things up. See what affects your FPS the most. See what makes the game look terrible. Look at what makes it impossible to see players, because you need to be able to spot players. So you don't want to have your graphics turned too far down. So I would recommend doing things that way if you don't want to watch a video. But there are good videos out there. There's a lot of other content creators that know more about me than graphical settings and how it impacts performance. So I'd recommend checking those out. If I put a video in, then I'll link to it, and you can check it from here. It'll go to the top right. FOV, I play at 60. This is very much a personal preference. So the reason I play at 60, I used to play at max FOV 75. So you can't go as high in Tarkov as you can in some games. I used to play at max FOV because my thinking in that process was, well, I want to be able to see as much as I can, right? I want to be able to see as much as I can to spot people. However, and this goes for any game, but especially in Tarkov where hitting your shots is so important. When you're playing a higher FOV, and although 75 isn't massive, targets appear substantially smaller, even though you can see more, so you can potentially spot people easier in a way. Although they'll be smaller, you can see more of what's going on around you. When you actually want to ADS and hit someone, that target will appear smaller because of the FOV. So that's why I've started running at 60, and I honestly feel like my performance is better playing at 60. Mess around with this, see what feels right for you. You could always start high and then see if you feel like it improves your performance, bringing the FOV down. Yeah, see what works for you. Head bobbing, stick that as low as possible. You don't want your head going around like this while you're moving. It's very off-putting. If you've got a decent PC, you've got to work this out whether it works for you or not. I put preload hideout on. It just avoids time messing around in the menus, and always put malfunction notifications on, because if your weapon malfunctions, especially when you're new, you definitely want it to tell you your weapon has malfunctioned and you need to sort that out. Graphics, we've already touched on this. This is very specific to me. This is what I run if you're interested. I would say look up a video for your system. Look up a video that tells you how to get the best performance out of Tarkov. Mess around with some of this and see what works for you. I have this. I don't really have to worry too much about how the game performs on my system. So the main thing I do is make sure that, obviously I want decent FPS, but I turn off anything that doesn't really matter, because I just want to make sure that I can spot players, and that when I ADS I don't get a huge frame drop. And I think that's what most people work to as well. So see what works for you. Again, if I do a separate video on this, then I'll link it up above so that you guys can check that out. But there are plenty of good content creators out there that know what they're talking about when it comes to graphics, far more than I do. Post effects I don't have on. This can make your game look very, very different, but it can also impact performance. I don't have it on. It caused issues to me when I was streaming. It made it look very pixelated, and so I've just kept it off, and I don't have any issue with that. It seems to work fine off. But if you want your game to look different, pretty, you can mess around with post effects. Again, there's videos out there that you can check out. For your sound, I've got my overall volume at 100, so just max. You probably want to mess around with some of this. The interface volume, if it starts at 100, turn it down. This is when you go into your, say, your inventory in game. It won't affect the volume that because other players will hear you. If you open your inventory in game when you're in a raid, other players will hear that. Okay, this does not affect that volume. It only affects what you hear. I turn this right down because I still want to be able to hear that I'm opening my inventory. You know, it reminds me, it prompts me that players will hear that. But I don't want it really loud because it might obscure a player's footstep or a shuffle or anything like that. So I would say turn this down to a comfortable point so that you still hear it. You know, you're still prompted that you're making noise when you're in your inventory, but also you don't want it masking any important information. Again, information is key. You don't want it masking any important information. Chat volume I've got set to 0. I don't know whether that's to do with the VoIP. Oh, it's because VoIP's disabled. I would drag that all the way up to 100 actually. When you've got VoIP enabled, and then if people are loud, obviously you can turn it down. Music's up to you. I like the music in Tarkov. It's up to you. I have it low though. Hideout volume I'd recommend putting down. The hideout is extremely loud for some reason, so I put this all the way down to the minimum. So you've still got the sounds of the hideout, just because you don't have to have them if you don't want to. I'm not putting down to minimal. Music on raid end is up to you. Personal preference. It's just a little tune that plays when you extract a raid or die. I have it on. Binaural audio, I have this off because it wasn't working particularly well for me. However, I believe that Battlestate keep making improvements to this. This is meant to be better, like spatial audio, you know, when people are above you or below you. As I say, it wasn't working great for me, so mine is still off. I might need to mess around with it and turn it on again. But I don't have it on at the moment. Again, you can turn this on, see what you think of it, turn it off. Again, there's videos out there that talk about binaural audio. I think you have to make this decision yourself as to whether it works for you or not. Enabling VoIP, I would recommend having this on. You'll get a warning when you turn it on. I would recommend having it on. There is a reporting system in game, so if you come across anyone that's toxic on VoIP, you can report them. I have not had a bad experience with VoIP. obviously people are very different in terms of how they interact with you, but I've had no one saying or doing anything that they shouldn't on VoIP so far. So I would recommend turning it on. I think it adds an extra layer to Tarkov in what is already a complicated game. It can add a lot of fun. So I turn it on, turn your mic up to max. But again, see what works for you. If you go in game and people are saying, "Oh my god, dude, you're blowing my eardrums out," maybe turn your mic down a little bit here. But I'd say start like this, because more often mics are quiet, not loud in games. So I'd say do this. And controls. I'm not going to go through all the controls in Tarkov, guys. There are loads, and as you can see, it's complex. There are certain controls that I would probably say just from day one to consider, if not rebind. Your leaning mechanic. Decide whether you want your lean as something that you continuously have to hold when you're leaning, so you have to hold down E or Q to lean, or whether you want to just press the button and then you stay leaning, or you need to make a decision about that. Other things that are probably worth rebinding, I think. So I rebound you have the enable and disable VoIP key and push to talk. They're two separate keys. You can only push to talk on VoIP in Tarkov. So I'd recommend maybe rebinding those to something that's comfortable for you. These are my custom bindings. I can't remember what they were originally. Yeah, have a look at that. Something else that I would recommend rebinding: check time and exits. Change it to O and a press. There is a check time, which I believe is I think initially check time is bound to O. Checking time and exit is bound to double O. You only ever want to check the time with your exits, so just change this to O, and then you can unbind. It's here, check time. Just unbind check time. You don't need that. You can, whenever you check the time, you want to check your extracts at the same time. It doesn't make a difference. It pops up in the top right. It's fine. So I would recommend that. Switching things like your tactical device mode, you can see here it's left Alt and T, which is a bit of a pain in the ass pressing two things on my keyboard for me. So I've rebound it to the semicolon, so that I've just got to press at least just one button when I want to switch my tactical device. This is like your lasers and your flashlights when you want to cycle between flashlight, and laser, green laser, blue laser. So it's all there. Other things that you may want to rebind, I've rebound things like check my ammo. There's no HUD in Tarkov, so it doesn't tell you that you have 30 rounds of ammunition left or 60 rounds of ammunition left. You have to check your mag manually, and it will tell you roughly what you've got in there, or might give you a more accurate number depending on the magazine. I've rebound this to a mouse button. I've also rebound checking my fire mode to a mouse button as well. So see what's comfortable for you, see what you're using when you're in game. Don't be afraid to rebind buttons. Don't be afraid to mess around with whether the press type is like a release, a press, a double press, to see what works for you. Okay, dropping your backpack as well. You probably want to rebind that to something that Z is the default, but I use Z to prone. Again, very personal preference. I'm not going to spend too much longer on this, guys. Just have a look through these, see what works for you, what doesn't work for you. One very important thing I'd probably say to this will help you with management when you're in game and you're looting a body, which you want to do quickly in Tarkov. You don't want to spend ages looting, you will die. The discard button, to discard an item, to throw an item away, rebind it. I think by its default is delete, but delete's miles away on your keyboard from WASD, so I rebound mine to X so that I can just hit X with my thumb when I want to just throw something away. If I want to insurance fraud, something we'll talk about later. I would certainly recommend rebinding that. Okay, guys. So let's save our settings there. Go to your traders. Trade him. You see these little green ticks? That means that they have a task available for you. So these are the first tasks that we're going to get from Prapper and Therapist. Click on tasks up here, and you can see debut. Accept it here. And now we've got to eliminate scavs on customs, 5 of them, and obtain and hand over MP133 12 gauge shotguns, 2 of them. Okay. Go back to your traders. Again, you can access it down here or from the main menu. Therapist, she's the only one with another task for us. Go to her tasks, shortage, accept. We need to find 3 Saliwas in raid. When it says found in raid, that means that the item needs to have a little check mark next to it. The in raid system in Tarkov is where you find it in a raid, obviously, but it hasn't been brought into the raid. It's been spawned in the raid or in the world. Now, that could be on a scav, that could be in a crate that you loot, it could be off the floor, but it's been spawned in that raid, okay? When you take it out of the raid, when you extract, it will keep that found in raid status, all right? Things that you craft are also counted as found in raid. That's very important to remember. If you loot a player who has come into a raid with, say, some gear on him, or maybe he's brought in a Saliwa, this is a healing item, say he's brought that Saliwa into raid with him, it will not be found in raid because he brought it in with him. As soon as he entered the raid, even if it was found in raid in his inventory, maybe he found it in a previous raid or he crafted it, as soon as he brings it into the raid on his player, on his person, it deletes that found in raid status, which means it can't be sold on the flea market. It can't be used for any tasks that say the item has to be found in raid. Okay, very important to understand that. You will get used to that. So these Saliwas have to be found in raid. That's your first two tasks you'll get when you start playing. All right. These are all the traders, so you can buy items from the traders. They all have a rep level. You can see here we are rep level 1 with all of the traders at the moment. Jaeger isn't unlocked. He's a trader that you unlock just by doing a few tasks. So that means that the things you can buy are limited. Quick tip, and I'd recommend doing this. It's a bit tedious, but I would recommend doing it. All these items that are grey mean you haven't discovered them yet. That means you can't do anything with them. You don't know what they are. Click your middle mouse button on an item to discover it. You see it says item examined, and it gives you XP as well. So that obviously gives you a reason to examine it. It's tedious, but go through. We're not going to do them all now, but go through and examine everything, guys. It is honestly worth it. It is a pain in the backside, but it's worth it. Go and do that with all your traders. If you don't want to do it on on everything all at once, I'd probably say do the big ticket items. Do things like armor and tactical rigs. So here on Ragman, you know, you've got a tactical rig, you've got helmets. Examine that, because it's stuff you're probably going to find in raid, and what you don't want to do is be looting a body and be like, oh, I've got to examine that thing, and that extra second or 2 seconds to examine it costs you your life. Or if you're examining like 3 things, 4 things, suddenly that could be like 10 seconds of time you're having to spend while you're looting a body examining things, and that could cause you to die. So I would recommend doing this. So yeah, these are your traders. Don't worry too much for now. We'll examine the traders in more detail in due course, but for the moment, main thing is you picked up your tasks. You know that you can buy things from the traders, and we'll come back to that later. Next thing you want to do, go to your character. This is you. Now you'll have a loadout already here selected for you. You can see there's an M4. You've got a Packer, which is very, very basic armor. You've got a headset, which is important in Tarkov. It helps with sound, it helps with hearing things. In Tarkov, there's a lot of ambient noise, a lot of background noise. The headset helps with drowning that out, and focuses the sounds like gunshots, footsteps, so you can be more aware of your surroundings. Again, information is key in Tarkov. I keep saying it, but it's true. So the first thing you want to do is look at this loadout that you've been given. Now, I would say this gun, it's not modded at all, and nor should it be. This is your level 1 at the moment, right? Everything is very, very basic. You are not going to be full autoing this gun. You shouldn't be. If you're going to be shooting it, you're probably going to be just tap firing, either on single fire or on auto, but tap firing. I mean, you could spray someone maybe if you're literally in their face, but if you're coming face to face with someone this close in Tarkov, you might just already be dead anyway. So I would probably say you don't need to take in 3 magazines of ammo along with the one that you've got in the gun. I would say at most you're probably taking 2. If you want to be very, very what's the word that I'm looking for? Stingy maybe with your ammo, very careful. Take a couple of mags out, just take 1 spare mag. The reason being that you can pack a magazine in raid. It takes time, but you can. So let's say I'd used all the ammo in this mag. Let's pretend I'd used all the ammo, it was empty. When you're in raid, you can click and drag ammo like this onto the magazine. It won't load it instantly like it's about to now. You see it load it instantly there because we're in the inventory. It will load the bullets one at a time when you're in raid, but you can still do that. Okay, and if you've fired 60 bullets and you run out of ammo and you haven't killed a person, well, you're probably already dead anyway. So this is why I say I think one mag is probably fine at this stage, and that way it gives you more mags left in your inventory to use later. This ammo is terrible ammo, by the way, but at the start of the game, it's kind of all that you've got for this caliber of weapon. Again, we'll touch later on ammo and armor classes, things like that. We'll go into it in more detail later. At the moment, priority is getting you into a raid, getting you started with the game. Okay, I would take out the food and drink. You're not going to need that. You're either going to be dead before you need that, or you'll find some in raid as you go along. You really don't need that. Okay, so I would take that out. Your alpha container here, I would recommend putting medical supplies in to start with. Okay, the healing system in Tarkov is very complicated. I'll try and explain it to you. Well, I will explain it to you, but it will take time for you to learn this. Okay, here's your health. Okay, you'll see it's not one health pool. You have limbs, you have a head, you have a thorax. Okay, one of these limbs, for example, let's say your left arm gets shot to below 60% health, you will lose that arm. It will be blacked out. Okay, you can't heal that arm when it's blacked out. It will be at 0 health. You cannot heal it. You have to repair it, which I'll come on to in a moment. If you get shot in that left arm again, the damage will be distributed across all your other limbs and I believe your body as well, rather than it doing more damage to the left arm, because it can't, because it's blacked out at 0 health. Okay, if your thorax or head reaches 0 health and you take 1 more point of damage beyond that, or more than 1, that's when you die. That's what kills you in Tarkov. Either your thorax going to 0 and then you taking more damage, or your head going to 0 and then you take more damage. Okay, that is what kills you. That's what you need to bear in mind. So let's say you did have a blacked out arm. You'll need to repair it. Now, I don't think, looking at our inventory here, we actually have what we need to repair a blacked out arm. You would need something called a CMS, which I don't think I can even show you right now. There isn't one that's available. You need something called a CMS kit. It looks kind of like this car first aid kit. It's a red rectangle, but it says CMS there. That will allow you to repair limbs. You can repair arms, you can repair your stomach. You can't repair thorax or head. If that goes to 0 health and it gets blacked out, you won't die instantly. If you take any more damage, you will die. Any more damage to those body parts, you will die. But you can't repair those if they get blacked out. If one of those gets blacked out, you just need to find a way to extract and survive. So I would recommend putting meds in your alpha container. I've kind of digressed a little bit because you are going to need them as you raid. To start with, your AI2s are decent enough for healing. They're not going to give you much healing. You can see they only have 100 healing on them, and an arm is 60 health. Your splint will allow you to mend any fractures that you get, or breaks. If, for example, one of those happens on your leg, unless you have a painkiller in use, we've got painkillers here already, unless you have a painkiller in use, you will start to limp horrendously. You won't be able to move very far. Your aim, if you try and move while aiming, will be like this because you have a broken leg. Okay, so I'd always recommend taking 1 if not 2 splints. There's already 1 here in your inventory. I'm putting them in your alpha container. I should have mentioned this. You keep this stuff when you die. Whatever's in your alpha container, you will keep when you die. So load this up with things that you don't want to lose, and meds are usually a good start because you're going to need a lot of meds. Vaseline is probably not a bad thing to put in your alpha container, because it will it's a painkiller. It's a very effective painkiller. You can see it lasts here for 5 minutes. I just double clicked on that then to bring this up. It lasts here for 5 minutes. So if you think you're about to get into a fight, there is an argument to suggest that you should pre-med, use the Vaseline, and then if you do take damage, let's say you break a leg or you break an arm, your aim's not going to be all over the place because you're already medicated, so you're not going to feel that pain in game. Okay, so there's an argument to suggest you do that. You can take the painkillers as a backup. You know, they're a very quick one. They only last 80 seconds. They cost you loads of hydration. They take 3 seconds to use those. So if you are in a fight or you literally get shot and you're like, oh shit, I need to move, you can go into cover and you can take you could take a quick painkiller just to get you out of that situation or to engage with that enemy if you wanted to do that. I would also recommend you take a bandage like this, or maybe you put this bandage down here and you take these. These bandages are cheaper. They're only 1 charge. You can see this one's got 2 charges here. These will heal light bleeds. There's 2 types of bleeds you can get in Tarkov: heavy bleeds and light bleeds. Heavy bleeds will obviously kill you quicker. Light bleeds not so much, but you still need to sort them out because you're going to leave a trail of blood behind you which people can follow, and eventually they will kill you, slowly, but they will kill you. So I'd recommend taking a bandage. You should also take an Esmarch. This is a heavy bleed kit. It will repair a single heavy bleed. There is something later called a Calloc, used to be called a Hemostat, that has 3 charges for heavy bleeds. Again, you know, think about what you're putting where here. What do you want to put in your alpha? What do you want to keep if you die? So I would have a think about that. I mean, probably the splints can both go there. The Esmarch can go there, maybe. But I would just focus on anything you want to keep. You can do this in raid as well. When you're in a raid, if there's something you want to get out of that raid with, say it's for upgrading your hideout, which we haven't even touched on yet, then you can put that into your alpha container, and say replace one of these meds, because at that point, if you've got something more important that you want to get out with, put it in your alpha container, replace your meds that can be replaced, even though it's going to cost you money. Okay. Your money, by the way, is up here, your rubles. Don't worry too much about euros and dollars at the moment. Rubles are what you're going to be focusing on to start with. Most things in the game cost rubles. We'll talk about euros and dollars later. So you're geared up here. You've got armor. You've got a headset. You've got a gun. You've got ammunition in a spare mag here. You've got some healing here and body things that you can repair your body with here. You've got some healing in your alpha container as well. The only thing you don't start with here is a helmet. So I would take off this hat, which does nothing other than maybe make you look a bit cooler. And I think we can buy a helmet. Yep, you can buy a helmet here from Ragman, which will protect you from a headshot. If the headshot, see, I just clicked and dragged it there to and I'll go through that process a bit slower. I clicked on the item, you hit deal, that means you buy it. You go back to your character, you click and drag it, you put it on your character. If you double click on this, it tells you the stats about it. There are negative effects of wearing a helmet, but if you get shot in the top or the nape of your head, you'll survive. I mean, the nape is your neck, I think, but you get the idea. You'll survive. If you are looking at someone, fighting them, and they shoot you in the face, this helmet will not save you. It will do nothing. Absolutely nothing. It will only save you if the person shoots you in the top of the head or from behind on the nape, okay? Otherwise, this helmet does nothing. Bear that in mind with Tarkov. Armor works very much the same. I believe they're planning to make armor even more detailed in future, but at the moment, it will only cover the areas it tells you here, your thorax and stomach. So if you get shot in the arm, you're not covered. If you get shot in the legs, you're not covered. You will take full damage to those areas, okay? So just bear that in mind. It's very specific the way that armor and helmets work in this game, all right? There's nothing you can do about that. It is what it is. There's certain helmets that will cover more areas. There's certain armors that will cover your stomach and your thorax as well, like the Packer. There's some that just cover your thorax. There's some that cover your arms. And there's pros and cons to all of those. Again, that's things that you'll learn as you play the game, okay? One other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is you've got a tactical rig and a backpack. You need space for your used magazines to go into, and so you always need to make sure that you've got space for 1 extra mag. So even if you filled up this rig, let's say our rig looked like, let's say we're in a raid and our rig looked like this for whatever reason, okay? Let's say we totally filled it. If you reload this gun now, this magazine will just drop on the floor at your feet and you will lose it unless you know exactly where you've dropped it. So leave space, leave enough space for your magazine so that when it's unloaded and you load that one in, because that's the process that happens, what we just did there, okay? When you reload, you press R in game, 1 magazine is unloaded, the next one's loaded in that order. So you need the space in your rig, okay? If you've got a magazine that's only, say, 1, like these MP5 magazines, it's only, say, 1 space, Then when that's unloaded, you only need 1 space to unload, and then the next mag will be loaded in, so you can act accordingly then, okay? But for these, it's 2 spaces. So you've got to load out. You're good to go now, guys. You're good to go into your first raid, okay? So you'd go to the main menu. You would say Escape from Tarkov. We'll talk about scavs a bit later. In fact, that might be the next episode because I'm conscious of the time that we're getting to here. You press next on EPMC. You choose your map. I would recommend Customs is a good map to start with and to learn on, okay? You have a lot of tasks on Customs. It's between Customs and Woods. You'll remember, if we go back to our character and check our tasks up here, what have we got? Debut, eliminate scavs on Customs. So Customs is a good starter. You can find a lot of PvP on Customs. So bear that in mind. You can see here it says there'll be 9 to 12 players in total. Don't worry about the difficulty, it doesn't count for anything. The raid time is about 25 minutes. That sounds a little bit short. I think that's wrong. I think the raid time's longer on Customs. I think it's like 35 or 40. But anyway, so just bear that in mind. You will run into players, but you've got a lot of early tasks there. It's not a massive map. It's good to learn. Lots of landmarks, quite linear in a way. Recommend it. Another thing I recommend, always have to the side of you a map of where you are raiding, whatever map you're on, Customs, Woods, Factory, Reserve. Always have a map when you're first starting out in Tarkov. You will need it. There are no directions. There's no HUD saying here's where you go to extract. You will press the O button when you're in raid. It will tell you where your extractions are. That's it. So you need a map that shows you extraction points so that you can look where you are and go, okay, here's where I need to get to. It's tough learning the maps in Tarkov, but it's part of the fun. It's part of the reward, knowing them well, okay? So you click on Customs, select your appropriate time here. These are day times, okay? I've had people before saying, oh, I thought this was the time that was going on in the raid when I was loading in, you know, that the raid had been going for 7 minutes or 7 hours. This is the time of day. If you go in at, you'd probably be okay at 1900. If you go in past about 2000 hours, it will be dark. And unless you've got night vision or a flashlight, it will be pitch black. You will see nothing, okay? So I would say until you've either got a flashlight that you can equip on your weapon, which you can find in raid, or you've got a you've got night vision, which is even more expensive and later on than flashlights. Don't bother going nighttime. Go daytime. So 7 a.m. You click next. We're not enabling offline mode because you won't get any progress. If you want to learn maps, learn locations, learn extracts, offline mode is a good way to practice. You just tick this. If you want to practice killing the AI scavs, the AI in this game is pretty nails. They can kill you quite easily if you're not careful. So enable PvE, it will give you good practice. If you want to practice fighting bosses, because there are bosses in this game who are even harder to kill and can kill you even faster than the normal scavs, the AI scavs can, you can click enable bosses. And then if you click next, you'll go into an offline raid where it'll be just you. You'll get no experience. You won't bring out any items. You won't lose any items. That if you die, you won't lose anything, but you won't come across any other players. So it's going to teach you nothing about PvP or fighting other players, but it will help you learning how scavs behave, killing scavs, learning the way to move through the maps, where you can go, where you can't go. So you could do that. In fact, I would normally recommend doing a few offline raids before you go into a full online raid, but for the moment, let's just say it's an online raid. This brings you to your insurance screen. Insurance in this game, the way it works is if you die and an item is insured and no one else takes it out of the raid, there is a good chance that it will come back to you through your post. Okay, you can see here the return rate is very slow. It usually takes a good day for it to come back. So I would normally, when you're starting out, I would normally recommend insuring, especially at a low level. Very few people are going to take what you have, so I'd recommend insuring. Now you can just say, let me just go back 1 second. You can just say insure all here, right? And it will select everything in your inventory, and you can click on things and to insure and unsure it. Okay, it will select everything, and then if you hit insure here, you'll see it'll cost 26,000. And all those items will be insured. If you want to just insure certain things, so let's say you thought, well, there's a chance that the M4 will be taken, right? If I die, someone's probably going to take that M4, so I'm not going to bother insuring that because it's a waste of over 8,000, nearly 9,000 rubles. You can see the price going up down here. So let's say you didn't want to do that, you could do it this way, right? I personally would insure it because it's a basic M4. It might not be brought, it might not be taken. Same for the bag. And then you hit insure. Are you sure you want to insure? Yes. And that's all now insured. You can see you've got a little shield on it that says it's all insured. Okay. Hit next. And you're now in the lobby. If you're playing with friends, once you've added a friend, this is where their names will appear. I haven't shown you how to do that. You can hit refresh here. If your friend isn't showing up in the lobby, you can add them. And then you hit ready and you will load into a raid. I'm not going to do that right now. We're quite a way into this video. I'm probably going to have to do some heavy editing to take some parts out. But that is you ready to get into a map and start playing. Okay, after all that. I hope that's all made sense so far. Next episode, there's so much more for us to cover. We've barely scratched the surface. Next episode, I might load us into a raid and show you that. We'll probably talk about the hideout. We need to talk about the hideout. I won't show you the flea market yet. This is like a kind of a player-to-player marketplace. I won't show you that yet because you don't get that until level 15 at the moment. But we'll definitely talk about the hideout. We'll talk about scavs as well. Do you remember when I went to the main menu, Escape From Tarkov? This is my player that I geared up, but I've also got a scav. We'll talk about that next time as well. And then, yeah, I'll probably show you guys a raid as well to give you an idea. Maybe we'll do an offline one just to introduce you to one of the maps. And then we'll go from there. We also need to talk about things like ammunition, guns, but I might do that on my main account because I've got more things unlocked there, so I can show you more. But you will have limited things available to you when you're first starting out, especially on a standard account. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode, guys. Obviously, we've only scratched the surface, really, with what Tarkov has to offer and the things that you can learn in this game. I'm definitely going to be doing some more videos. I'm working on them right now to explain a bit more to you and to go into more depth in some of the aspects of the game, particularly things like ammunition, the traders, building guns, things like that. Although today we were using the standard account, I will also use the EOD account that I have because I have some of the high level traders and a hideout advancemans unlocked as well, so it'll be easier just to show you guys some of the things that are available with those as well. But as I say, that'll be future episodes. They'll be coming shortly. Watch this space. And yeah, I hope you found it fun, useful, informative, and we'll do it all again soon. Don't forget, if you want to see more of me other than just on this video, I also have a Twitch channel and I stream there. It's pyro_maniac88. I'll leave a link in the description below. That's where I am most days. I usually stream about 3 PM GMT until, well, late GMT. 10, 11, something like that. And we have a Discord as well. I'll just put a link to that in the description because I always post go live notifications there. Thanks again, guys. Take care. I'll catch you all soon. Bye for now.